Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Monday morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing awesome out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great ending to your week or beginning to your weekend out there so far. Here to bring you the latest information that we have on a few things in this morning's video. Of course, the first thing we will talk about is the tropics, like we kind of been doing over the last several videos, just because there's been some chatter out there about the potential for another storm system forming maybe somewhere in the Caribbean. So, of course, we're going to start off by talking about that. We'll go over all the latest model guidance that we have and really break down what we know after we get done doing that. We will talk about the pattern throughout the rest of October into the first few days or even several days into November. Is there any kind of rain on the way, any kind of significant storm systems? There's a lot of people that really need the rain, me included. I've not had rain since the Friday that Hurricane Helene moved through Georgia and the Carolinas. I live in central South Carolina. So a lot of people are wondering, when is it going to rain again? So we'll speak on that. And then, of course, we'll break down what's going to happen weather-wise across the entire lower 48 for your Friday. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below so I can pray over it and so others can do so also. I'm going to speak on a couple things at the very end of the video. Nothing serious going on, just want to speak on a couple things, so stay tuned if you're interested with that. So with that being said, let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So there's nothing to really draw on this map or anything like that. There's no systems out here in the Atlantic, the leftovers, if you will, or the remnants. It's not even called that, but that's pretty much what it is. Of Oscar is just an all-out low pressure. Somebody made a funny comment in the comments yesterday, but I can't remember what it said. But basically, this is like a nor'easter. And I don't think that this is bringing significant impacts for you folks up in Newfoundland. Let me know what you're seeing up in Canada, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, Prince Edward Island, etc. I would love to know. I know I have some loyal viewers up from that area, and I appreciate y'all very much. But let me know what you're seeing from this system. This is the leftovers. You can see a little bit of a spin here. But as far as the Caribbean, as far as the Gulf of Mexico, folks, there's nothing going on. There's a little bit of convection starting to fire here deep in the Caribbean, but no all-out storm system. You know, it's wild. You're starting to see YouTube videos out there actually already naming this system, Patty. You know, we don't have a named storm system out there at all. Nothing's developed, nothing's formed. Could something develop over the next several days? Absolutely, and that's what we're here to talk about. So as far as everywhere else, nothing going on right at this second. So let's continue to move forward here. The latest from the National Hurricane Center is anything expected to develop over the next 7 days? Per the National Hurricane Center, no. There's no areas of interest. Could this change over the weekend? Absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised if they do issue a what we call a lemon in the weather community, and that means that there is a low chance of tropical development. I certainly don't think they'll, pop it off right off the dot with a medium chance. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do put a yellow area down here, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they didn't, and it would be labeled down here somewhere for the southern sections of the Caribbean or the central Caribbean. But as of right now, there's nothing. So let's go over the latest GFS, and I will say this is still running, not even quite 10 days out. What is it showing? I want to note right off the dot, the GFS has just been consistent on showing a tropical system. And I'm not dissing on this model. I'm not shaming it or anything like that. I'm just giving you the facts of what we know, and that the GFS, I'll say it right off the dot, is an outlier model. Okay, that doesn't mean that it's not going to happen, but it is an outlier. I mean, let's just bring the facts to the table here, but we will show it to you. Okay, and this is the model that's, sort of generating a lot of buzz about I would say negative buzz about another storm system. So do I think a tropical system could form down here? I do. I think there's a favorable phase of rising air that will go over this area of the Atlantic, the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, and it will bring an opportunity. And I think we will get something. It's just, what is that going to be? So let's go over the GFS. We'll start off by Sunday morning. Nothing going on, just some green, which is just tropical moisture, shower and storm activity. We take it into Monday, still nothing. We take it into Tuesday, October the 29th. It does show an L that pops up here, and we're just got lowering pressure down here. I wouldn't say an all-out tropical cyclone, tropical system. A tropical cyclone meaning an area a tropical system that has a defined low-level circulation, but we do have lowering pressure and just unsettled weather developing. Rising air. Rising air allows for shower and storm development. Then we get into Wednesday. The GFS says, hey, not only do we have this area down here in the Caribbean, we also have this area in the southwest Atlantic. It's pretty wild. It's just what I think it is just a huge area of, like I said, lowered pressure, which then brings the opportunity for shower and storm activity. So it gets pretty wild here. The latest GFS this morning wants to develop two defined tropical systems. One here in like the Turks Caicos Islands, and then one deep down here in the Caribbean. This would be an all-out tropical storm. This is for next Thursday morning, Halloween, last day of October. And then we get into November 1st. It quickly develops what is in the southern section of the Caribbean into an all-out hurricane, and it pulls it northeast. Now, some people might think, well, that's a weird direction for this to go. It's not. This time of the year, if you actually look at climatology as far as tropical systems in late October and November, most of them do this. They get pulled northward. Steering currents get wacky. But this is just a huge area of low pressure at this point. I mean, it really is. You got just a huge cyclonic spin in these sections of the Atlantic. I mean, areas of the Southwest Atlantic, the Caribbean. You got this hurricane getting pulled this way. You got this area of tropical activity getting pulled back this way. It's just weird. And you just got to wonder, when is the GFS going to drop it? Or does it? So that's a big question. So we keep this going. This hurricane gets pulled into Hispaniola somewhere, and then it gets slungshot basically into the southeast Bahamas, Turks Caicos Islands, and then it obviously gets very close to the southeast. Now, this is next Sunday morning, folks. This is past 7 days out, between the 7 to 10 day range, and the GFS keeps showing something like this. Now, I only have this 222 hours out. I would show it a little bit further out if I could. It's still running right now, but even if I was to keep this running and this slammed a hurricane into the eastern seaboard, it's not a reliable time frame. But there is a chance that if anything does form down here, it gets pulled northward. Where does it hit? Who does it affect? I don't know, because nothing's formed yet, folks. So if we stop it here, this is for next Sunday morning, not this Sunday morning, next Sunday morning. You look at the run prior to this, it had the hurricane down here, a little bit further south. The run prior to that, it had it over Cuba. And run prior to that, a little bit more south on the Caribbean side of Cuba. And then it had it way over here, way over there. So if you would call it a trend, the last several runs have been just ticking this further and further east. But I would not call this a trend just because it's just in a long range period. But GFS continues to show something. And I will tell you, a lot of people will say, well, if it's staying this strong with it, then I think it has a high chance of happening, and it might. But the GFS, I've seen it do it a couple times. There was, I think, a period last hurricane season where it had a vortice forming off North South America, and it had it basically it formed about right here. It kept showing on the GFS, and then it had it going this way, and then turning into a major hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico, where it would go on and make landfall into Texas. It showed this for a week straight, all the way inside 100 hours out. And then people kept saying, this is not likely to happen. It's a bias. And it didn't. It ended up fiddling out. It was a huge model fail. Is this going to be a model fail? I'm not sure. A lot of people have made a lot of good points. And I've read in the comments, I have, that the GFS has done well sniffing tropical systems out this hurricane season. And I would agree with you. That's why I'm talking about it a lot. So what about the Euro? We'll start this off Sunday morning. We'll get into Monday morning, next Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning. It finally develops an area of low pressure, very weak low pressure, but it's there. And then we get into Thursday morning. Where did it go? It's lower pressure down here. I would say the center of the low pressure is like way over here, but there's no all-out tropical storm like the GFS shows in this same time frame. And we take it all the way out to 10 days out. You do have a low pressure here in the Caribbean. It's right here, but it's 10 days out. So it does not develop an all-out hurricane like the GFS. GFS 10 days from now, let's back it up. We got almost 10 days. GFS 10 days from now has a hurricane off the coast of the southeast. Euro has nothing right there. Okay? Euro AI model. I'll fast forward this a week out. Okay, this is next Friday morning. Next first morning in November. Merry Christmas. Anyways, you got lower pressure out here in the Eastern Caribbean. Okay, but it's kind of like what the Euro shows. The Euro has in the same area. Okay, this is the Euro AI model. And it does kind of pull it back, hits a U-turn, and brings this unsettled weather over the Greater Antilles. And, you know, the Euro AI model does go past 10 days out. What does it do after that? Even in the long range, it doesn't show it ever developing anything really. Canadian, a week out. It shows just lower pressure deep in the Caribbean. It shows some sort of low pressure over here developing, which is weird because the icon kind of shows the same thing. But both models, nothing too crazy at all. So once again, we're waking up for about the 50th morning in a row to the GFS being an outlier. And here is the GEFS ensembles which make up 21 members. Already for next Thursday morning, you're starting to see members starting to show up on your screen. You notice that it starts to brighten up down here in these yellows and things like that. This tells us that some of these low pressures developing. And guys, just remember, this is on an ensemble run. This doesn't mean we're going to have 21 low pressures in the Caribbean. It just means that this is all the members that develop in the 21 members of the ensemble run. Throws it on the output for us. And all these weird numbers you're seeing are low pressure strength. Okay, so that 89 right there is the strongest one. And we keep this going, and we take this all the way out to November 1st, the morning of. And there's many members in here. There's many strong members in here, all-out hurricanes. But just one ensemble run. And we take this out to about 10 days, and it's quite concerning. I would be highly concerned about this if other model guidance was showing it also. I'm aware of this. I'm not super concerned about this right at this second. But as a pretty loud signal off the GEFS ensemble for a strong, you got some very strong hurricanes in this area right here. 4127, that stands for a 941 millibar, 927. That's major hurricane status. And then you keep this going, and then, they just kind of spread apart and do weird stuff after that. Now the EPS, which the tropical tidbits is still running, so we're going to have to look at Weather Bell here. It shows a lot of members down here, okay, developing. We'll go all the way 10 days out. You see the L's, kind of same version as this. It's just it doesn't show little mini L's on this, but this is 10 days out. Shows a lot of low pressures down here, and this makes up 51 members. So if you want to stop and pause the video and count all the members you see, that's how many members out of 51 is here. But I'm not seeing any that are overly strong. There's a few that's tropical storm status for sure, but none of them ever get overly strong, and they all get spread out. So there's definitely a signal for lower pressure in the Caribbean off the Euro. It's just not as loud as, say, the GFS and its ensemble. So that's an update on the tropics. Let's talk a little bit about the pattern over the next several days into early November. This is the 30th of this month, next several days, into the 3rd of November. Above average temperatures, high confidence in this for the eastern U.S., and then multiple storm systems, multiple what we call troughs of low pressure are going to dump out west, bring cooler than average temperatures, and then unsettled weather. So this is definitely more of a just cold out west, warm in the east kind of situation. Now you back this up and you look at the precipitation outlook. This is the good news. Above average precipitation coming from the middle of the country. We need it. And you're starting to see, near normal chances of precipitation in the eastern U.S. Still a little slither below average, but you get what I'm saying here. And it looks like we're going to start to get an active storm track across the middle of the country. Now, it's good news as far as rain. Bad news as far as we're in a, secondary severe weather season. Troughs begin to dig. A lot of moisture gets pulled up from the south, and we have the opportunity for severe weather. So I do think as we get into, I would say, especially early November, we're going to have severe weather opportunities in the middle of the country. Okay. Now, as far as what the pattern looks like, as far as ridging and troughing, the more warmer colors you see on your screen, this is ridging, high pressure. The blue colors, that's troughing, lower pressure, unsettled weather, and typically brings a cold front, below average temperature. So we keep this going, and we get all the way into early next week. A ridge anchors itself across the eastern U.S. This is going to bring like a warm Halloween for a lot of people, a warm ending to the month. In fact, might be record-breaking territory as far as how strong this ridge is over the northeast. But this big trough digs down. It gets a little cut off. This system sort of ejects across the middle of the middle of the country. This will bring unsettled weather across the middle of the country. Could cut into this ridge. Will turn into like a cutoff low. What will this do? We're not quite sure, but we're watching it. And then another trough dumps out west. This could bring mountain snow, lower elevation rain, and then this trough could eject across the middle of the country too. This could bring severe weather, some sort of storm system right here. You see how this kind of gets detached and then slings itself across this way. That's a trough ejection, and then another one comes and dives down. But this is getting into 10 days out. But the one common thing you see here is a lot of storm systems, lower pressure out west, and then a lot of ridging, high pressure into the east, which means we're going to be dealing with above average temperatures for the foreseeable future in the eastern U.S. Definitely no cold shots of air for sure. So as far as what this looks like as far as precipitation for the middle of the country, which I think could be an active area as far as weather over the next 10 days. Over the next few days, pretty quiet. I mean, we get into next Tuesday. Here comes a weak storm system that could bring some rain across the northern terrain of the country. A stronger storm system forms at the base of this trough, could bring a lot of higher elevation snow across the Rockies, could bring some snow even outside of the Rockies, maybe into the high plains of Wyoming, western Nebraska, Colorado. You see this low flying across the country here. This could bring a little severe weather south of this low. I do think we're going to have at least some marginal, even some slight risk of severe weather next week as we have multiple low pressures cutting across the country. Am I looking at a severe weather outbreak? Absolutely not. But I definitely could see multiple opportunities of severe weather across the central and southern plains. And then that moves across. This could bring some beneficial rains to the Mississippi Valley sometime around, the last few days of October. And then what happens after that, past 7 days, it does show a stronger storm system ejecting across the middle of the country. A 997 low moving across the country could definitely bring severe weather. But it's kind of far out. It's past 7 days out. We have to see how this evolves. If you kind of compare that with the GFS around the same time frame, it shows something similar, shows some sort of storm system. But of course, we got a lot to figure out with that for sure. So as far as precipitation, folks, between now and the next 10 days, it looks like we're going to start to add the rain back in again. It's good news. So pretty good signal for rain for the south central U.S., even down to the coastal areas of Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, especially the eastern half of Oklahoma, all the way into the Midwest. What about snow? No snow in this area, but it's been a slow start to any kind of winter weather for the Great Lakes region. Typically, you'll have some maybe smaller events by now, but as far as snow, folks, definitely could add it up in the central Rockies. There's even a little bit of a signal across the Dakotas and Minnesota, even the high plains here, but all in all, not a super big deal as far as that. I'm not really seeing any kind of significant early season snowstorms except for the higher elevations. And then rainfall over the next 10 days for the eastern U.S., and this isn't good news. I mean, that's not a very solid signal for any kind of rain for the southeast. It's just an ugly signal. I've said this multiple times. We're going to start to get in trouble with these wildfires. We've already seen it in Connecticut. We lost a firefighter to it. It's going to become more of a concern if we do not, I say this in a jokingly way kind of, but if we do not learn how to rain again in a normal pattern. It seems like the only way we can rain across the southeast is a hurricane. So, and I think that we're going to be dealing with this through the winter because a La Nina, weak La Nina in place is going to favor more of a ridge over the eastern U.S., which sinking air, that means all the weather is going to flow around the southeast. So I just think we're going to have a dry winter, but I might be wrong. Might be wrong. So, that's obviously not expecting any snow in this area. But as far as what's happening, we'll break down our weather for today. We do have that storm system swinging through the Midwest. This is bringing some nice rains. We had a little bit of severe weather across the Midwest yesterday. But we do have some heavier rain showers. Nothing really severe, but here like around Springfield, Missouri, it looks like maybe a little bit of shower activity in southeast Oklahoma. But definitely waking up to some soggy conditions across the Great Lakes region. This will continue to move and weaken, though, as it moves across the Ohio Valley into maybe the interior sections of the Northeast. A little bit of a weak cold front kind of made its way through over the last 24 hours. A little bit more chillier this morning across the Southeast. And another cold front will move in. But then after these cold fronts move in for the eastern U.S., folks, we're going to start to warm next week again, most likely. I'm not talking about 90s, folks, but we're definitely going to warm up. As far as watches, warnings, and advisories, high wind watches up here in Montana. I think those are high wind watches. Yeah, high wind watches. Always get those colors mixed up. I always think they have the colors just a little bit mixed up here. But freeze warnings across areas in the middle of the country, some dense fog. That's about it. As far as flooding, less than 5%, so it doesn't even show up much at all. I'm going to start using this site, guys. It's called WeatherWise. They have an app. It's only available for iPhones right now, Apple. It will be available for Android, I think, over the next couple weeks. I'm going to be kind of working with these guys a little bit. Obviously, not going to turn my channel into some sort of huge promoting stuff. I don't do stuff like that. But just working with these guys a little bit, trying to promote their site. Two really cool dudes, and they started this weather app a few weeks ago. And I remember when I first started off, and nobody would ever give me any shout outs. And just want to show these guys some love. It's WeatherWise. Check it out on your iPhone app. If you got iPhone, they will come out with it on Android. But it's a cool thing to use, guys. You can click on different areas. You can put exactly where you are. It's kind of like a version of Radar Scope or Radar Omega, but you don't pay for it. It's free. So definitely download this app. Check them out. They would appreciate it. I would appreciate it. And I'm going to continue to figure this one out too. But so far, I like it. And I'm going to pull it up for this. I really like it for looking at the category risk. And this is for severe weather today. And there's no severe weather. But I like this because I can zoom into it here. And the risk of thunderstorms for today is in this area. So if you live anywhere from, the Ozarks all the way to Columbus, to Cleveland, to Pittsburgh, risk of thunderstorms. And I like how you can just toggle through this. This will be really beneficial when we're breaking down severe weather. And I'm sure they're going to end up updating the site. We can look at watches and warnings, stuff like that. So definitely check it out. WeatherWise, you'll see the little tornado icon, yellow thing. Definitely a cool site to use. An app to use on your phone. Southeast today, it's quiet. We're going to get a little bit of that rain that does move across Kentucky, the Ohio Valley, the southern Alps. You can see it up here. This will be nice to see. There's a lot of people that have holes in their roof from Hurricane Helene and the Alps and just the damage that it did. I don't think this is going to be a washout, but we take it into this afternoon to the overnight hours. Here's a little bit of rain starting to move into the Ohio Valley, the southern Alps. Some sprinkle action, scattered downpours, not a big deal. We get all the way into Saturday morning. We're going to be waking up to a little bit of rain. And some of those areas still trying to clean up. But from what I'm hearing, the mountains of North Carolina, it's getting very dusty. The dust is not healthy. I'm hearing a lot of locals saying they could use just a little bit of rain. So let's hope that happens for them folks here. But I think some of this energy will make it all the way to the Carolinas tomorrow, but I'll talk more on that in the next video. But the Southeast, a lot of this energy that you're getting right now in the Great Lakes region, the Midwest, it will kind of peter out for the most part. But Southern Ontario, Quebec will get a little bit of shower activity today, just on and off, kind of a dreary Friday. And then as we're starting to get into this evening, there's that shower activity. Man, you could really use this in West Virginia. You're in a D5, exceptional drought, awful drought in West Virginia. And looks like you'll get a little bit of scattered activity. No ground busting rain or anything like that, but you're definitely going to get a little bit. Some shower activity will continue overnight into the interior New England area. And then that's all she wrote. South Central U.S., quiet. Little bit of shower and storm activity possible as far southwest as Arkansas. But most of everybody, pretty quiet. A little bit of storm activity could get going overnight. Boot Hill, Missouri, Arkansas, Western Tennessee. But I wouldn't expect anything severe or anything like that. North central U.S., most of this energy will pull on out. You'll get a little bit of northwest flow. They'll get kicking across the UP. And just some lake effect, rain showers. Nothing cold enough for snow, but you'll get some of that, especially in the eastern UP all the way down to the northern lower Michigan area, probably into the overnight hours tonight. And then the western U.S. is pretty quiet. Our first storm system out of many will move into the Pacific Northwest, so you'll get some rain late this evening into the overnight hours into the coastal range, the Olympic Mountains, and eventually this will get into the Cascades, and then we'll kind of wake up tomorrow morning to just some scattered showers. Temperatures, cooler air, not that cold though. A little bit of a boundary in place. Nice day across the southeast. It's warm for the deep south, not overly warm, but the western U.S. pretty much kind of an average looking day out here. So cooler air is definitely on the way for you folks, though. That's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. And real quick, I want to mention this. You're going to see some changes in my thumbnails. You'll notice that. Let me see if I got enough time to talk for a minute. I do. I got about two or 3 minutes. So you'll notice on my thumbnails, they looked really awesome a few days ago, and then I kind of went back to my normal way of doing things. So I've been working with a guy named Hunter. He has taken the time to try to teach me. Well, he has been teaching me how to use Photoshop and how to work things. And I'm going to break making changes to my channel up in segments. I'm not going to try to rush this. The first thing I want to do is really learn how to just play around with thumbnails and stuff like that. And a lot of people are probably thinking right at the dot, Mitch, please do not use the overhyped, fear-mongering thumbnails. I'm absolutely not. I'm basically going to use the same way I do things, where I kind of show you, kind of use copy and snip pictures of the models I show you, but I'm going to make it look a little bit more appealing, pop a little bit more, things like that. I'm not going to try to freak anybody out. You guys know I don't do that. But I just want to make it where it pops out more. And at the same time, I don't want to be like everybody else where, you got a lot of people who do the same kind of looking thumbnails where it's just basically one solid color, but they dim a certain area and says, watch out here with a giant arrow pointing it to it. A lot of YouTubers do that, to do what I do. I want to separate myself, not be like everybody else, but I still got to learn this. So you guys bear with me. The thumbnail for this video I actually created. It took me 2 hours last night to create. I stayed up way past my bedtime. I'm just going to be playing with some things, tweaking some things here and there. Shout out to Hunter. He took the time just to unconditionally help me. I feel like dude's God sent. It's really awesome for him to help me like that. So appreciate him very much. And the next phase will be moving my entire setup to the playroom on the other side of my house. And I'm very excited for that. I think I'm going to work on that a lot over the next couple weeks, but especially with Thanksgiving break. So excited about some changes to come, trying to not get way too ahead of myself. I tend to do that. But just have patience with me. Feedback's cool. I would like to hear that. But a lot of people say, you're cool the way you are. We love you the way you are. And I appreciate that. But you got to continue to grow and try to make things better. And I would love to reach more people. I would love to be able to pray for more people. I would love to talk about God to more people. And that's going to turn some people off, but I'm totally okay with that. If they can hear about God, I think I need to do better things of using my platform to glorify Him anyway. So we need to try to reach more people, and we will continue to build our family. God bless all y'all. Y'all have a wonderful start to your weekend, and I'll talk to you again soon.